Hello and welcome to our special coverage of Operation Sindoor. It's been more than 12 hours since India carried out airstrikes on Pakistan and targets in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. In this time, we've seen reactions from most countries. Almost all of them have urged restraint. Some have supported Pakistan. But one country has firmly stood by India in this time, and that is Israel. The Israeli government has supported India's right to self-defense. It has also condemned Pakistani terrorism. What explains Israel's supportive approach? How does Israel see these developments in South Asia? And how can India and Israel combat terrorism together? To answer all these questions, let me introduce my guest, Israel's ambassador to India, Reuven Azar. Ambassador Azar, good to have you back here.
Thank you, Palki. Thank you for this interview.
Yes, it's been a packed day, to say the least, for us. We've been tracking the developments. I'm sure you've seen what has happened, and Israel is no stranger to operations behind enemy lines. How do you assess India's strikes last night?
Well, first of all, it's only natural that at the backdrop of this terrible attack in Pahalgam that has taken the life of civilians in such an atrocious way, that India would exercise its right for self-defense, and Israel supports Indians' right for self-defense.
And this is for the first time that India has conducted such an operation without crossing the line of control. What does it say about India's defense capabilities and how we've improved since the last such operation?
Well, this is not an easy challenge, Palki, because these terrorists are becoming more and more violent and they commit more and more atrocities, and there is no easy way to deter them. They are breaking any rule in the book, any norm of humanity, and we, as democracies, we keep our standards, we keep our values, and we are fighting this war with one hand tied behind our back. And therefore, I don't envy the Indian government and the Indian decision makers and the security forces in their calculations, in the risk taking, in the decisions to operate based on intelligence, to achieve an efficient result, and make sure that these terrible attacks don't happen again. It's a challenge, and I trust the Indian government to meet the challenge.
There's a military war and there's a narrative war, and Israel has fought both for years. Now India is fighting on both these fronts. After the strikes yesterday and after the attack in Pahalgam, we've seen a flood of fake news from all kinds of handles being peddled. Right. What do you say to those who are amplifying Pakistan's narrative?
Well, I think it's very dangerous to contextualize terrorism. Terrorism has to be condemned and has to be fought against. And there's nothing that can justify the murder of innocent lives. And whoever justifies that, I think, is committing a major mistake, not only morally, but also tactically, because this will come back to them. Terror knows no boundaries. And when you start justifying terrorism, or contextualizing terrorism, and you refrain from taking action against terrorism, you will be hit by terrorism.
I couldn't agree more, and you've made some very, very strong points. You said, do not contextualize terrorism, condemn terrorism. Let me quote one of your statements. Israel supports India's right to self-defense. Terrorists should know that there is no place to hide from their heinous crimes against the innocent. That is a statement that I'm sure every Indian appreciates today. What do you say to members of the global community who are trying to contextualize terrorism, and do you think that they should be doing more to condemn Pakistan?
Well, I think that the international community should do more, not only to condemn, to act against terrorism. And there are many ways in which countries in the world can act against terrorism. They can pursue those who are committing these crimes. They can prevent the proliferation of dangerous weapons. They can act in order to impede the dissemination of radical content in social media, in the electronic media. They can play a role in isolating radical elements. They can play a role in supporting moderate policies. There are many things that we can do as states in the world, and as much as we fail doing it, terrorism flourishes.
And there are some countries that clearly back terror states like Pakistan. Turkey is one such example. They have backed Pakistan after India's strike, and Israel has seen firsthand Turkish meddling and hostility. What sort of role do you see President Erdogan playing in this? Do you think that this will give, their support will give Pakistan more more confidence to escalate this?
Well, Israel is not part of this conflict, and countries in the world should be very careful, not only when it comes to meddling in other conflicts, but also with ignoring the difference between legitimate conflicts and illegitimate measures that are being taken in the context of the conflict. Because as much as you can have a cause, whether it is just or unjust, when you use terrorism and you kill innocent civilians in such an atrocious way, there is no room for any country to support such acts. And therefore, we have criticism when it comes to the support that Turkey has been given Hamas, and of course, that when they support other terrorist organizations, there is something that we look at in a very negative way.
You said that Israel is not a party to this conflict, but in the past, I know when India has needed some sort of support, logistical or otherwise, Israel has stood by India's side. Did Israel play any role in intelligence gathering or surveillance before this operation?
Israel and India cooperate on security in a general manner. We help each other when it comes to capabilities. We develop capabilities together. We do not interfere in each other's conflict.
But in this particular case, was there any sort of sharing of intelligence or information?
As I said, in the context of this conflict, I'm not aware of anything specific. We are cooperating as democracies. We have similar challenges. We are trying to give answers when it comes to capabilities, and we leave to each government of each country to take the decisions that have to do with a specific situation.
Ambassador Azhar, India has a big army. India has a capable army. We are among the biggest defense spenders in the world, and India is more than capable of taking on the Pakistani threat head on. Having said that, the Indian government has always believed in working with partners and allies, and Minister Jaishankar said recently that we're looking for partners, not preachers. If this conflict escalates, what sort of support should India expect from Israel?
Well, we are standing ready to support India in all the ways we have been doing it until now, and we will continue doing it because India has the right for self-defense, and it knows very well that it can count on Israel.
In every way?
In all the ways that are necessary in order to make this cooperation efficient for both countries.
What advice would Israel give to its Western partners on this issue? Because we've seen statements since this morning, and there is an attempt to put India and Pakistan in the same sort of bracket and say that both sides should de-escalate. But the fact is that one is an aggressor and a promoter of terrorism, and the other is retaliating to that and in fact doing the world a favor by demolishing terror camps. So that is a false equivalence.
Well, this sounds very familiar to me, and you understand why. Because we are facing this situation for years now. We are surrounded by terrorist organizations that are committing terrible crimes against Israel, and each time that Israel takes action in order to defend itself, it is being criticized for escalating the situation. At the end of the day, we are democracies. We have a responsibility to defend our citizens, and each country is going to do whatever it takes according to its calculations, according to its sovereignty, to defend its own citizens.
What is your message to Pakistan?
Well, I'm not in a role of giving messages to countries in the world. We have seen a terrorist attack. This terrorist attack is completely unacceptable. We support the right of India to defend itself, and whoever harbors terrorists should know that this is something that is not going to be tolerated.
And this has come at a very critical time for Israel as well. We know that the conflict is entering its 20th month, or has entered the 20th month. We are expecting a major escalation. What can you tell us about Israel's plans and how things are going in your part of the world?
Well, as you know, Palki, so far we've been combining diplomatic measures and military measures in order to not only destroy Hamas capabilities, but in order to bring back our hostages. We've managed to bring 194 hostages. There are still 59 left. As time passes and Hamas sees the devastation, they are less prone to give us more hostages. And that means that the Israeli cabinet had to take a decision 2 days ago that we are going to enter a new phase, hopefully a final phase of this war, in which we are going to take several measures. First of all, we are going to create a humanitarian zone in which the population of Gaza will be encouraged to enter and to receive international assistance free from Hamas abducting the assistance. because Hamas has been taking the assistance and selling it to the population and keeping, in this way, a grip on the population. The second thing that we're going to do is to take more chunks of the Gaza Strip until Hamas either accepts our terms, which means giving our hostages and giving up the weapons, or is defeated.
You know, in situations like this, there are no easy solutions. The last time Israel took control of the Gaza Strip, it did not really end in a very conducive manner for either side. Do you think that this time will be different?
Well, first of all, Israel hasn't taken control of the entire Gaza Strip. Israel has withdrawn from the Gaza Strip in 2007,
Yes.
in 2005, and we had the hope that Palestinians will take control of their lives, will manage their lives. Israel doesn't have an interest of controlling the Gaza Strip, and when these two stages that I mentioned are over, the humanitarian stage and the military stage, then there will be a political stage in which we are going to encourage local elements to take control of civilian life in the Gaza Strip. We're going to cooperate with international partners in order to create a better future for Palestinians. We do not have an interest to have permanent control of the Gaza Strip.
We also saw some statements from the American president on the number of hostages, and I believe that there was some discrepancy there. Are Israel and the US on the same page when it comes to the next steps?
Yes, we are. The United States is backing the Israeli plan, and we are determined to execute this. It's going to be done with American foreign policy backing, but I believe after military hostilities are over, we're going to count on American friends to create a better future for Palestinians. So yes, we are in sync.
Do you fear that this is going to get worse before it gets better?
Unfortunately, yes, because as I said, you know, unlike what happened in Palgam, Hamas here took hostages. And this has created a challenge for us, and that's why this war is being prolonged. Hamas, in a very malign way, has spotted the sensitive spot in Israel and has taken civilians as hostages. This created a very complicated situation in which we have to face a dilemma, because if we would just concentrate in the repatriation of the hostages and allow Hamas to continue to rearm and regroup, we would face another attack, another 7th of October, which the Hamas leadership already mentioned that they want to do, already said that they want to do. So we don't have any choice. And the Israeli public is determined to bring back the hostages and get rid of this threat called the Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip.
Ambassador Reuven Azar, I know that it's a busy day for you. Thank you very much for taking time out to sit down for this conversation and for your words of support. I'm sure every Indian appreciates his friendship from Israel. Thank you.
Thank you, Palki.